The pipes had been gurgling for weeks, a relentless, groaning noise that echoed through the walls of our suburban home like a bad omen. My husband, Daniel, kept saying he'd get to it eventually, but eventually never came. Just like his attention, his affection, his presence. He smelled like salt and motor oil. He flashed me a grin, the kind that made my stomach tighten before crouching under the sink. I lingered, pretending to tidy the counter, watching the muscles in his back shift as he worked, so I called a plumber. Mark arrived in a wrinkled company shirt, sleeves rolled up to reveal thick forearms, hands rough from work. "Ma'am," he said, voice low, "you might want to step back." This pipe's about to burst, and suddenly we were stumbling into the bathroom, shutting the door behind us with a click that felt like a gun cocking. The sink was still leaking, water pooling on the tiles, but neither of us cared. He laughed, shaking his head like a wet dog, and I laughed too harder than I had in months. Then, without thinking, I grabbed a towel and stepped closer. I didn't move. When the water sprayed, it soaked his shirt, clinging to his chest. He'd forgotten his laptop. Of course he had. He didn't cry. Not once. One touch. That's all it took. One night, after Mark stormed out another fight, another slammed door, Jake finally spoke. His hands were on my waist, mine tangled in his damp hair. Then the door flew open. By then, the house was as hollow as I felt, just empty rooms and the ghost of choices I couldn't take back. Daniel stood there, car keys dangling from his fingers, face twisted in something between disbelief and rage. The divorce was swift, brutal. My son, Jake, then 12, watched silently as his father packed boxes, his small hands clenched into fists. Daniel had primary custody, and Jake's visits grew shorter, colder. I married Mark 3 months later, but passion burns fast. Within a year, the rough hands that had once thrilled me were slamming cabinets after arguments. The quiet mornings before everything shattered. The way Daniel used to hum off key while making coffee. The sound of Jake's laughter, real laughter, not the bitter scoff he gave me now, or the beginning. The man who whispered promises against my skin now came home smelling like beer and other women. The aftermath at first, it felt like freedom. Mark was everything Daniel wasn't: a passionate, impulsive, present. Jake never adjusted. He'd glare at Mark across the dinner table, silent fury radiating off him. "Why didn't you just leave?" The question hung in the air like smoke. I didn't have an answer, not one that made sense. Anyway, the second divorce Mark left me for a waitress at the diner he frequented. I didn't fight it. Jake moved in with Daniel full-time. The few times I saw him, he'd look at me like I was a stranger. Maybe I was. The horrible truth life after was. Gray. Friends drifted away. My job part-time. Something to fill the hours barely paid the bills. The worst part, I missed the mundane. I had wanted fire, but fire only destroys. The end. The pipes gurgle again tonight. A familiar, mocking sound I could call a plumber. But this time, I'll fix it myself, because some leaks once ignored can drown you.